Welcome to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. I'm your host, Fabian motherfucking Ojeda, and I don't know shit, but that's okay. All right, let's get this shit started. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. Hope you all enjoyed episode number 91 with Poppy the comic. Really cool guy. You know, I love his ambition, his drive. I hope he accomplishes everything he wants. Lots of luck to him. But we're back with a couple of brand new guests. Definitely excited to have them on. We're going to talk a little bit about movies and entertainment and directing and all that stuff, right? Welcome to the podcast for the first time, Lorissa and CJ Julianus. How you all doing?
Hey,
thanks for having us, Fabian.
Yeah, definitely excited to have you on. And you two are from Binary Star Pictures, right? That's your company?
Yes, correct. We are based in the Midwest, outside Chicago.
Nice. Yeah, and I'm excited to talk about that. You know, I've had I've had one director on before, and his story was kind of unique because everything was luck on his end, like luck and timing. It was like, I'm like, how did you break into this? Well, I had a friend who had a bunch of money that wanted me to make movies for him. I'm like, not
that's the story that everyone wishes they could tell.
Yeah, we want friends like that. Yeah, I'm like, that's not a typical story. I'm glad you're telling it, but I'm like, I'm sure there's more to that. And so I'm glad to have you all on because I really, would like to kind of talk about the process of getting in there and, getting your feet wet and getting down and dirty and making a movie, because a lot of people, that kind of seems like a very daunting task, from start to finish. And, I'm sure you've had you put in a lot of work, and, I really like to hear about all of that.
It is incredibly daunting, and it's a marathon, a test of endurance. I would say that we'd both say our journeys in the entertainment world, rather than luck or something sudden happening, which everyone dreams of and thinks of happening. Oh, I'll make it big by, have a big opportunity when I'm 25 and shoot straight to the top. No, it's usually very slow, methodical process.
Most
one
overnight,
foot in front of the other.
Most overnight successes are 10 years, 15 years in the making. And that's right. Literally the truth. I mean, I remember a long time ago, I've had a lot of careers, and I was in the advertising and marketing business, and I was doing very well for myself. And people just said, yeah, CJ, he's just lucky. It's like, yeah, maybe, but I spent a lot of time making my own luck, making doors open, and sometimes being persistent in trying to kick that door open and finally being able to do it. Our journey, I mean, I'm 62 years old, and I'm a military veteran. I spent many years in the Naval Special Forces, and the one thing they always drummed into our head was the saying: improvise, adapt, and overcome. And in the arts, that is literally what you have to do all the time. People come to us and they say, hey, can you do this? And the answer is always yes.
And then you figure it out.
And then you figure it. I mean, literally,
right.
If you have the talent, which Lorissa and I mean, I'm not bragging, but Lorissa and I do have an abundance of talent. And when you do have talent, you're able to say that. And when you have a really good network of like-minded people, if there's literally something you can't do, there's going to be somebody in your circle that can help you accomplish it.
Well, and I got to add something to that. Sometimes I kind of wince when someone uses the term talent or as a compliment. Oh, they're so talented. It gives this idea that all of the skills and all of the know-how and the expertise that you have in your field and the ability is just magically there at birth. Which is not the case for anybody. And so much of talent and, for so many people who are geniuses, their genius, it's just a lot of hard work and putting the time in year after year after year. Right. Same thing for me. I was the youngest graduate in the history of my college, Columbia College, Chicago, which was the largest film school in the world.
Lorissa has a very big brain.
Well, I came out thinking, here I am, world. I'm amazing. I've already done all of this. I have no social life because I work so hard. The world's just going to be my oyster. And as anyone who's been in that situation can tell you, that's not how it works. The world gave a collective yawn. And it took many, many years of slowly building my experience, having a lot of dead ends, or as they say, failing forward, everything that you work on and you have so many big dreams for, and you put your heart and your soul into for years and years, and it seems like it goes nowhere. But it has that small building block for the next project that's a little bigger, and then the next project, which is a little bigger.
So we have many more larger failures moving forward until we actually find some semblance of success. But the thing that Larissa is trying to say is that even as an artist or a creative, or literally with anything, the fact that you failed meant that you tried.
Right.
And there are so many people out there who they fail because they never start to begin with. The number one reason people fail is procrastination. And if you can overcome that and you can get outside your box, which a lot of us find ourselves in, little boxes that are our comfort zone. If we can step outside of that, that's where the magic happens.
And we have to look at failure in a different way, because we can only have control over what our effort. And the effort that we put in has to be enough for us. Because once whatever we create goes out into the world, we lose complete control. But if we are able to enjoy that process, enjoy the struggle, the challenge, the learning, and be satisfied with what we put in, then we can find happiness and fulfillment no matter what the world, whether it loves it or decides, collective yawn.
Yeah, but on the flip side of that, though, we have this attitude like our name is attached to stuff. I've been a director of live theater and producer of live theater for decades. And I always have the attitude, if my name is on this, it has to literally be as good as it can be. And if we put our best foot forward in every endeavor
and know that we did our best,
and know that we did our best, that typically is good enough. So we're really happy about that.
Yeah, and speaking of your best, you two have given your best and put out a movie out there that's on Amazon Prime, right? The Misadventures of Mistress Maneater.
Yes, that's a mouthful. The Misadventures of Mistress Maneater. It's a romantic comedy that really blows up the idea of what a romantic comedy can be. So as a writer myself, a hopeless romantic, I've never been that satisfied with what I've seen with romantic comedies.
Well, romantic comedy, the genre itself has kind of devolved over the years.
Right.
It's that's the kind
it's
of
become
concept.
formulaic.
Yeah.
Well, because I hear a romantic comedy as a young man, I'm like, pass.
Exactly. So I write what I want to see more of, stories that are smart and funny and sexy and exciting, but also make you feel a little more hopeful about the world. But it was funny. The men that were in our crew for the first week, they said, "Are we shooting a romantic comedy or is this blood sport too?"
Right.
I wanted to be unpredictable.
Yeah. So the genre itself, we as filmmakers, there's a lot of ways that you can start. A lot of starting filmmakers, they start off in the horror genre because horror is easy to do.
It's easy to sell.
It's easy to sell. But if you're a fan of that genre, as I am, I do enjoy the horror genre. But every year, it's like you might only get a couple decent horror movies. A lot of them are just garbage. I mean, I don't know what kind of movies you watch, but I can name on one hand the horror titles that I've enjoyed over the past several years.
Right.
And with the romantic comedy genre, there's certain tropes that you always have to follow with romance. They have to meet at the beginning, and Roger Ebert coined the term meet cute. They have to have a meet cute. And then at the end of the movie, they have to wind up together. But in between the beginning and the end, anything can happen. And what we found with the way, like I said, the genre has devolved over the years is that what happens in between tends to be pretty mundane and pretty predictable.
Very low stakes.
Yeah, very low stakes. Our film, we raise the stakes to really high levels. There's a lot of really different things going on. And the beauty of our film is that you can watch it as pure entertainment and you're going to get belly laughs out of it. There are many laugh out loud moments in this film, which most romantic comedies also don't have.
They're not very romantic and not very funny.
And they're not very funny.
No.
So the reason I'm saying this is because we have hundreds of reviews online. And many of them say, oh my God, this movie literally has laugh out loud moments, which we're really proud of, because Lorissa wrote these and then we filmed them to bring them to life, which is great.
With a really great team and a fantastic cast.
So you can watch our film and enjoy it on a superficial level as just a comedy, but there's also a lot of people who enjoy film on a deeper level, where they're looking for more esoterica, where they're looking for deeper meanings, they're looking for allegory, they're looking for literary aspects, metaphors. Our film has aspects of female empowerment, toxic masculinity, issues of forgiveness, of religious history, art history, just self-actualization. All of these things are in the film if you want to look for them. And they're done in a way that doesn't bludgeon you, which we're really proud of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to play the trailer if that's okay with you all.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. So let me get that going here.
Have you seen the trailer yet?
I did, and I thought it was interesting. I'm like, wow, that seems like something I would check out on Amazon. I watch a lot of movies on there randomly,
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, and people can also check it out for free on Tubi, totally free app with ads.
Yep.
All right, let's check that out.
That's not your safe word. I need your safe word, Frank. Do you not remember your safe word? Once upon a time, there was a dominatrix who wanted out.
I laughed at that right there.
Spank them. Can you believe it?
Didn't she get expelled from her PhD program?
Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
Oh, goddamn son of a bitch.
I'm Mayor Kupsik.
Have you met Father Markovich?
Not the highlight of my year.
Her day job is actually...
What the day job is.
Oh, excellent. Well, she's the art historian that you were so eager for Lloyd to introduce you to.
Her? What is your previous experience, Miss Moriarty?
Oh, restoring the largest Gothic rose window in North America.
I will hire you to get photos of you two in a compromising position.
Get him drunk, get some photos. Done.
Like I could get that close. The man hates me.
He's Episcopal. They're allowed to make whoopee.
Would you like to drive us home?
You're not afraid to give up control?
I don't like to drive. I prefer to lay back and be driven.
What are you hoping to find?
Hopefully something that links the mayor to the church and explains his motivation for extortion. The guy who finally finished construction on the church was one of the town's bigwigs, Joseph Oberstein.
Yeah, he was an art collector around World War II.
Marty, do you have any idea what happened to his paintings?
That's the million-dollar question.
He has a Lorissa. It should be at the National Gallery. He would make millions if he sold it. I'm gonna bring Dracula down.
Hey, sir, you shouldn't have come back.
Get in the car, move!
What are you doing here? Do you follow me?
What do you think I am, crazy? My painting is in there! I hate that moniker, semicolon. It makes me sound like Godzilla, exclamation point.
Love it. Yeah, I like that part at the end where you're literally reading the punctuation out loud. I actually I can relate to that because I like to have good grammar even when I'm texting.
Right?
Yes, same here.
It's a lost art. It's grammar and punctuation. Sometimes I read stuff and I'm like, makes me insane.
And it's funny because I talk to my phone like that. I'm like, I wonder if anybody sitting around me, they're like, what's he talking about? Because I'll literally say the comma out loud or the semicolon out loud.
Yeah.
But watching the trailer, I'm like, whoa, that seems interesting because it's like you call it a romantic comedy, and I'm watching that, I'm like, that looks like an action movie, and so I really would be interested, and I'll probably watch it tonight or in the next couple of days.
I hope you do. Yes, yeah. That would be awesome, and I hope all your readers, all of your listeners do. So I have a favor to ask.
Yeah.
If you watch it, please go on Prime or IMDb and leave us a star rating and a review, and tell all your friends about it.
For sure.
Because the more people who rate, watch, and review, the more we actually can be seen. Because what happens with these online platforms is the more views they get with more views, reviews, and ratings, they move you further up in the thumbnail carousel, right?
I see.
So you want to be like in the first 100. They go 300 back on Prime. So as a filmmaker, would I rather be number 52 or number 292? Well, 52, right? Because people aren't going to scroll all the way back to find something to watch, even if they're drunk scrolling at midnight. So yeah, tell all your friends to watch it and rate it and review it. And if you hate it, tell all your enemies to watch it.
All right, we'll do. Yeah, but I mean, like I said, it's kind of interesting because it's a romantic comedy, but initially the comedy doesn't jump out at you. But I like that because a lot of the time when you say comedy, and it's for at least from my perspective, and it's from an kind of like an untested, what do you call it, like actor or director or anything like that. And, people don't know who they are just yet. It's kind of cheesy, a lot of comedy is very like, they want to be funny, and I'm sure it sounded funny when they wrote it, but it doesn't like come off that way. It seems very, very like forced and contrived and whatnot. But
I completely agree. I think my biggest pet peeve, because I did the assembly cut edit for this. We had a wonderful team helped us out with post-production. But I placed all the music, and we had an incredible composer we worked with. But my biggest pet peeve in watching so many of these movies that claim to be comedies is that as soon as the comic scene happens, you start to hear the sound effects.
It's cueing you that, this is a funny scene.
Oh, you're supposed to laugh, and we're going to treat our audience like they're 3 years old. Yeah. Oh, it drives me nuts.
So as a director and a very experienced director of theatrical plays, I've directed every genre. And the hardest genre to direct is comedy. Because when you're doing drama, there's 100 different ways to do drama, and it can work, right? With comedy, you only have one grade. Is it funny? And it's pass fail. If it's not funny in a comedy, guess what? You failed. So with our film, we have moments of laugh out loud moments, followed by moments that are truly poignant and truly deep.
But see, I love chiaroscuro, the juxtaposition of light and dark. Actually, the painting that's a centerpiece of the movie, and that style of painting, the Baroque period, it's all chiaroscuro, light and dark, extreme opposites, so that what you see is has that much more punch and that much more drama.
Yeah.
And that's the two characters we have. A dominatrix and a priest. You can't get much more high stakes and a total contrast than that.
Yeah, but so you've never seen a movie with the characters that we've got or the scenarios we've got.
And it's the same with the comedy and the drama. The more serious the drama you have, the more the comedy that then comes just catches you by surprise and makes you laugh.
Exactly.
Now, Lorissa, that you as the mistress in the movie?
That is correct. I am.
Now, I laughed right there as you get out of the elevator. It's like, in the whole suit seems very uncomfortable. It's like you got like a wedgie going on and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like so many women could relate to that. I'm limping down with the stiletto heels.
Yeah.
I do a lot of live events and a lot of modeling, and I get to play very glamorous characters. But there's always the very unglamorous real side to all of them.
Yeah, when she comes home and her toes are covered with blisters, and I massage her feet for the next half hour, 45 minutes. That's the unglamorous side that you never see.
Yes, I did motion capture, or I've contributed to the motion capture for the Mortal Kombat video games since 2008. And for a couple games there, they had us in actual heels. But we also had to do a little bit more stunt work than we currently do. So, running into mattresses, racing this way or that, throwing ourselves into things. And that was definitely a little rough on the tootsies.
Oh, so you do like the high kicks and all that too in the Mortal Kombat game?
Actually at this point, because the last couple games we've been doing facial capture. So that's actually a camera that's attached to our heads that, kind of is suspended right in front of our faces. They get very careful now because they don't want to damage the face or the cameras. So people don't realize this when I say, I've worked on or been Melina, Sonya, Sindel, Katana,
Harley
Jade in all these games. It's like, no, it's always changing the role every game. But there are so many other people who contribute. So you have the model who comes in and they do a 3D facial scan and then adjust it how they want. You have the person who does the voiceover in Burbank, California. You have me, I do the facial expressions and the movement during the cinematic scenes. And then you have the actual stunt performer who they'll bring in who doesn't wear a facial camera. And they do all the crazy moves that you see that you actually have in gameplay mode.
Lorissa does do some of the moves. Lorissa is a black belt, or not black belt, brown belt in karate. She's working on her black belt. So there are certain things that Lorissa does. But once again, they don't want Lorissa injured because she's doing so much of the motion capture.
And they really don't want those expensive facial cameras injured.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Now, I'm actually really intrigued by the title of your movie because, like you said earlier, it's a mouthful, right? And Mistress Maneater. That sounds like I didn't think I'd ever see a movie out there with the title, Mistress Maneater in it. Where does that character come from? And talk a little bit about that, how that was created.
Well, I'll start by talking about the title, and then Lorissa can tell you how that title came to be. So what's interesting is that we debated over what the title should be literally for years.
Yep.
Trying to come up with a title that was appropriate for what the content is, because this story is very dense. There's a lot that's going on in it, and it's really difficult to come up with a title that would be
encapsulates all of it.
Yeah, it entices an audience to want to watch it, So we finally decided it had to be The Misadventures of Mistress Maneater, at which point we hired a film, basically a team of guys who helped us sell the film. And one of the guys, his name is Jeff Dowd. Have you ever heard of a guy named Jeff Dowd?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, let me rephrase that. Have you ever watched The Big Lebowski?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Jeff Bridges plays who?
The dude.
Yeah. Jeff Dowd is the real life inspiration of the, and he's our film agent. And he said, I love your movie. You did a wonderful job on the movie. I hate your title. I hate it. Anybody who sees that title, you're not going to be able to sell your movie. So his partner, he had the opposite opinion. He goes, I love the title. I think you couldn't come up with a better title. But we really had to do as much as we could to appease Jeff. And we tried to figure out we went back to the drawing board trying to figure out what a new title would be. And I went on Facebook to all of my people that I know in the entertainment business. And I said, hey, we're considering retitling the film before we release it. Anybody can come up with a title that's appropriate and we use it, we will take you for the most expensive steak dinner you've ever had in your life. So we got all these suggestions for titles, and none of them were as good as The Misadventures of Mistress Maneater. The only one that we thought maybe had a chance was this title, Beauty and the Priest.
But just like The Misadventures of Mistress Maneater, half the people out there think it's a porno.
Yeah, because you know how takeoffs on movie titles? We did not want to do that.
Yeah, that one sounds more like a porno than the Mistress Maneater one.
Well, good. I'm glad you feel that way.
So you tell how that all came about.
Well, I was inspired years ago by the BBC show Sherlock. If you've ever seen it, Benedict Cumberbatch was in it. It combines genres. So it's mystery, but there's also action, and there's tongue-in-cheek, smart, witty comedy. And there was actually a little bit of a romance with a brilliant dominatrix character. So I thought, you know what? I want to explore that idea that a little bit more, this brilliant person who also has a lot of sex appeal. But in my case, I wanted to make a character who wants to be taken seriously and who wants to be known for her mind and who she is and her heart, not just this outer appearance that everybody dismisses and disparages.
Yeah, so to be clear, our movie is not about a dominatrix. Our movie is about an art history PhD candidate who, by virtue of many different things, fell into that and wants out. She doesn't want to do it anymore. So the whole story basically is how she doesn't like being called Mistress Maneater, and she doesn't like the current lot she finds herself in.
Which forces her into the scandalous scheme of having to win the heart of and then extort the Episcopal priest, avoiding her like loose glitter.
Exactly.
But so that, but yeah, I wanted to raise the stakes too, because like we kind of alluded to before, what's the, you see these two vanilla, boring, basic characters in these rom-coms usually, right? Very forgettable people. And what happens if they don't wind up together? Well, they go back to their vanilla, boring lives. Oh, well, no, who cares? I don't care. But if my character Ava Moriarty doesn't get the guy, she's gonna die at the hands of her mobster ex, and she only has 30 days.
There's some stakes there.
Right. Definitely. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the process of getting it on, a platform like Amazon Prime, right? Because everybody wants their stuff seen, right? Yep. Everybody wants their stuff on like Hulu, Netflix, as some like Amazon Prime, anywhere where they can find a big audience, because what's the point of it not being seen, right? So talk a little bit about getting your movie onto Amazon Prime and how that came about.
All right. Well, I can tell you there's been a huge evolution in the last 20 years since I went to film school, Fabian. So 20 years ago it was, it's so hard to get a distributor, blah, 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 blah. That was also in the days of Blockbuster, when just like book publishing, everyone had to go to a bookstore to buy their books, and there's only so much book space, and a publisher has to commit to, producing this bound copy, physical manifestation of your work, right? It's a big investment.
Same thing with movies.
Same thing with movies. It was hard to get a distributor because the distributor's like, we only have so many spots at Blockbuster, and I'd have to make DVDs and all that kind of stuff. That doesn't exist anymore. It is the easiest thing in the world to get a distributor now. There are people who shoot not very good movies, shall we say, on their iPhones, and they are distributed. Here's the problem. Not getting it on the platforms, you can do that. That is the easiest thing in the world to get your stuff on Amazon. The hard part is getting people to watch and finding a way to getting those people to be willing to pay and monetize. So just like YouTube, in many ways, I mean, some platforms are very, very discerning and extremely hard, and people like you and I will not have access to those platforms. But there are others that are universally used that anybody can get on.
So here's something to consider. When we made our movie, we self-distributed to start on the Amazon Prime self-distribution network.
Yes, Amazon Prime Video Direct, it's called.
And we were charging to watch our movie. It was like $4.99 to watch our movie, of which we got 50% of that. Then we decided, you know what, this isn't really resulting in the kind of viewership.
And we only have access to US and UK.
Right, US and UK. We weren't monetizing the way we wanted to, and we weren't reaching the audience the way we wanted to. So we started interviewing distribution companies, and we interviewed 7 or 8 of them, right? And they were all, interestingly enough, they had a really great sales process, but we were also encouraged to do some research into what they are, and we found a lot of these companies, they had enormous amounts of complaints from the Better Business Bureau, from filmmakers, and all that kind of stuff. And there was just absolutely no way we were going to go with any of these. We finally settled on a company called Indie Rights Movies. And they told us flat out to begin with, you have to market your own movie. We're not going to do it for you. But don't be under the illusion that any other distribution company is going to market it either. They aren't. What they will do is they will charge you several thousand, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars to market your movie, when literally the only thing they do is put a press release in the Hollywood Reporter, and maybe they might go to some of the film fests and mention you. And they will charge you all the money in the world to do that.
So you'll be lucky if you ever see a check, and if you see a check within 3 years.
Yeah, so we decided that didn't interest us. So we wound up with Indie Rights Movies because they take less of a cut up front. They take a 20% cut. Whereas a lot of these other companies, they were looking to take 30 or 40%. And no, we're not going to do it.
And they're also extremely transparent with their business practices.
Yeah, which we really appreciate. But here's the negative of all that. When our movie is on Prime, as part of their library, which it is now, when somebody watches our film, we literally get paid a few cents. That's it. So it becomes a real challenge to get the kind of viewership to make a few cents grow exponentially. I mean, literally, we need millions of views in order to get a return on our money.
And I'll add that Amazon dictates that isn't within the purview or the jurisdiction of the distributor. So people need to know that, there's not some magic bullet out there.
So over the years, the amount of money that these distribution platforms have come down over the years.
What they pay
people. So what we did is we started looking at other platforms that pay more. And one of those platforms is Tubi, which you can watch our film on Tubi for free. But
that's through Fox, right?
It's a Fox channel. And like every 15 or 20 minutes, you'll sit through a couple minutes of commercials. Well, as a filmmaker, we get a little cut of that. Therefore, instead of getting a few cents per watch, we get maybe 25 cents per watch, which is obviously far better.
And we're not even sure at this point.
And we don't know because we haven't gotten a residual check yet. So there's no way for us to know exactly how that's going to be monetized. But at the same time, we, on a daily basis, Lorissa and I are constantly marketing our movie. We're doing online advertising. We have we met you through Steve Joyner, our PR guy, and he's making wonderful introductions to us. And we're hoping that over time, we can get our film to be well known and at least make our money back that we spent on it. So that's literally what it comes down to. As artists, we want to continue to make really satisfying content that people enjoy and want to watch.
And as I tell actors and writers and creators, how much the world has changed in 20 years. Back then, maybe you could just be a writer or you could just be an actor. But as you probably have experienced yourself as a podcaster,
you have to do it all.
With YouTube, it's like almost like YouTube. You have to be the talent, you have to be the writer, you have to be the director, you have to be the editor, and you have to be the master marketer. And so anyone who creates their own content has already had a taste of that. I think where I see some older entertainers struggling and maybe some newer folks kind of following the wrong path is they think, if I just get a publisher or if I just get an agent or if I just get a distributor, they'll do all the hard work that's not fun and that I don't want to do.
And that's 100% false.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is a lot of work, even just something, I don't consider the podcast something like a huge deal. It's kind of something that I love to do for fun. But yeah, you're right. You have to do a lot of stuff. I'm like, I didn't know I was a graphic artist. I'm like, that's
you are now.
Something to develop along the way. But yeah, it was just interesting to hear all of that because it kind of reminds me of how when I first got onto like Spotify, to me, that was kind of like a something that was like big and out there, like a big dream. Because I'm like, I used to be a musician, play a lot of music, and I'd be like, wow, can you imagine getting on something like Spotify or Pandora or something like that? And now with the podcast, I'm like, well, that was like the easiest thing ever. Right? That wasn't hard at all, But you're right, getting the audience is quite a task. And I always kind of trip out because I've got people listening from all over the US and I'm like, I haven't met these people and they're listening every week. And you can tell because of the map on I have like a map of listeners, right? And I see the same cities popping up every week. I'm like, that's cool. I'm like, I have no idea who they are, but thank you.
Yeah. And that's always a hope that it'll grow from that. I got some fan mail from a Caribbean nation or from the UK of people who just randomly find us because they're going through and they really enjoy what we created. And you know how that is. It's like when those days when you're struggling, when you just wonder, am I just screaming into the void? It's those kind of voices that help keep you going.
Here's what I'm going to do. The next fan mail I get telling us how much they loved our film, I'm going to take that letter and I'm going to make a copy of it and I'm going to send it to my mortgage company. And I'm going to say, see, the world loves us. Reduce my payment. I just made 65 cents. Is this enough?
Right. Now, what other projects might you have coming up, if anything yet, or are in the planning phases, or are you really kind of putting all your momentum into promoting your current film?
It's all
of the above. All of the above.
We were just so fortunate that we shot our film just very shortly before COVID. because with all of the safety regulations and whatnot that are in place, it would be very difficult.
We never could have made our movie during COVID.
You'll see once you see our movie, our film is on a much larger, grander, more ambitious scale than your typical indie. We wanted it to look like a studio film as much as possible. Big sets, lots of people, lots of locations, big cast, lots of extras. So that's very much a challenge at this moment. But yeah, you're right. It's a good time to plan for the next project. And there's always something in the works. You can't really ever talk about it, but
well, we can talk about it obliquely. So Lorissa just got hired to write a treatment for a script out of a book, a police procedural type thing, which we're really excited about because Lorissa is a fantastic writer. So that's a project that we're going to be working on. We're actually in the process of reading the book. Larissa's going to read it first. I'll read it next. Lorissa will write the script. Then when she's got it done, then I'm like her editor extraordinaire and we go through it together.
I'm working on my own next comedy.
Yeah, we're working on another comedy script. Lorissa is pitching a TV show to Hearst Entertainment, and that's a company that owns A&E and the History Channel and all the big cable channels.
No, they don't.
Oh, they don't?
They don't own them.
Oh,
no,
they don't anymore?
No, they do not own them.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought they did.
Wait a minute. Oh, God, I don't remember anymore.
Yeah, no, they do.
Do they?
Yes.
All right. Oh, God.
Yeah.
So much changes in this industry.
Right.
Like so many of these conglomerations coming together, going apart. So my bad.
So she's working on a pitch package to do a TV show for them. I'm in the process of initiating conversations with a literary agency in Manhattan to acquire a script that is very, very highly regarded in the theatrical community to turn that into a movie. And I have high hopes that I can acquire the rights to the script because that will be a great way for me to raise funds to make it and to attract real name talent. So yeah, there's stuff going on, but like everything else, it's hurry up and wait. When I was in the military, that's what it was. Hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait. Everything seems to be happening and nothing seems to be happening, so.
Till it all hits and it's all hands on deck, right?
Yep, exactly.
So you learn a lot of patience and acceptance and you keep going. I mean, I heard no on a same project so many times and, you grieve it and you think it's dead. And then somebody you spoke to 5 years ago comes back and says, hey, I want to pitch this to someone I know. I'm having this meeting. So you just never know. It's the important thing, as you've experienced, I'm sure as your listeners have experienced, is to just keep going.
Yep. You never know who you're going to meet. So you always have to be out there creating opportunities for yourself regardless, whether it's internal with your own talent or meeting people who can help facilitate. Nobody can do it on their own. You need other people. Nobody's an island.
Yeah. And for me, it's been important to learn how to pivot when I go as far as I can under my own steam with a project. And hitting a brick wall or waiting for a response or whatever it is, it's like, all right, I'm going to find what my next project is that, feeds my passion and that sings to my heart until I can pick that other one up again. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty important too, is for anyone who's considering making a film, considering taking on a monumental, ambitious project or their life dream, make sure it's not something you think, oh, this is popular right now, or, oh, this will sell, or no, it has to be something that speaks to you so much and that you so believe in that year after year, late nights, no money, no rewards that you can see for your effort, you still believe in it and you still love it.
We've had many, many filmmakers approach us or talk to us about, we're going to make a film, but we're going to reverse engineer it to cater to a certain audience.
It doesn't work.
And there's no passion there. They're literally creating something to chase a buck. And
you see that in the reviews.
And you see it in the reviews, you see it in the performance, you see it in the writing, you see it in the overall product, that it's just kind of like a passionless, a bland kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And when you approach it from a place of joy and wanting to create the best art that you can, then you see a completely different aesthetic when you view the finished product, whether it's art, whether it's writing, whether it's music, whether it's a movie, whatever it is. If that passion and joy is there, and you can tell that whoever created it threw themselves into it, headlong and with a lot of joie de vivre, that is when it translates into the best possible product.
Yeah. It's like cooking a good gumbo, I guess. I'll put it that way. You can really
Nothing better than a good gumbo.
Oh man, I make a good one, but that's how you can tell somebody put their heart and soul into it, right?
Yeah.
It could be the canned gumbo or the crap that Campbell's is selling you or whatever, or it could be like nice hearty gumbo, but that's a different story. Now, I was actually going to ask you all, to give like the last bit of advice for, the prospective, director, writer, actor, but you guys gave a lot of gems there, man. I'm like, like a fountain of, like a wealth of knowledge there. So you guys already gave a lot, but is there any like last minute, like anything else you want to throw out there to the podcast world, so anybody might be interested in getting into the entertainment world there?
Well, both of us, but Craig's
So I'll start, and then Lorissa will go. I would say that literally the most important thing. I used to mentor high school kids. And it was at a really interesting high school. It was 1/3 Black, 1/3 Hispanic, 1/3 white. Mm-hmm. And I would go in, and at the time I was the artistic director of a theater company outside of Chicago, and it was a fairly successful company. And I would get called in to mentor kids who wanted to get into the entertainment business. They wanted to be an actor, they wanted to be a performer, a singer, whatever. So I would go and meet these kids, and I would say, okay, great, you want to be an actor. Are you involved with the high school plays that you're doing? And many times I would hear them say no. And I would ask them, why aren't you doing? I mean, you have a beautiful stage here. You have the opportunity to participate in theater, whether it's on stage or behind the scenes. Why aren't you doing it? And some of the kids, particularly kids of color, and I'm not saying this with any prejudice whatsoever, but particularly kids of color, they told me, I don't want to do theater in high school because it's too white. And I thought, and I said to them, I said, that is literally the most backward answer that you could possibly give me. If this is something that you have a passion for and you're wondering about, you've got to be involved. Maybe you can't be involved and be an actor on stage, but you sure as heck can help build the set. You sure as hell can run the lights and the sound. You sure as heck can be doing the costumes or being a stage. You can be involved in any number of things. But until you actually get yourself involved and put yourself out there, well, having a goal is nothing if you don't act on it.
Right.
It's just a dream. It's just a whim. It's just so you've got to do it. So if anybody's interested in being involved in acting or in the arts or whatever, find yourself a theater company and get involved. Just do whatever it is that they ask you to do, and don't procrastinate. Don't wait. Do it now. I started doing this decades ago. That's how I met Lorissa. I met Lorissa 17 years ago doing theater. My theater company resulted in 6 or 7 marriages, which is a beautiful thing. People coming together to do something that they couldn't do on their own, something that they wanted to accomplish in a group. And when you do that, you find camaraderie, you create lifelong memories, you create lifelong friends. You might even find the person that you have a significant amount of, you might get married to or have a relationship with. You just don't know. But the only thing is you've got to get yourself involved in doing it. So I started doing theater as a kid. Mm-hmm. And the logical progression is that now I'm making movies. Yeah. That you just have to do it. So Lorissa, what do you got?
Well, what were you going to say, Fabian?
Yeah, Fabian.
I was just kind of like when you said the whole, the Hispanic kids or the minority kids are saying like that's too white. I'm like, what's funny is that I've heard that as a kid too, where it's like, that's what white people do. It's like, and I think about it. I worked with a lot of high school kids too, and to them, obviously not out loud. I'm not trying to incriminate myself here. But I would tell them, I never want to hear you bitch about privilege ever again, if that's your attitude.
Right.
Like if you're giving away this opportunity to do something for free that you'll never get again, like I never want to hear you bitch about I didn't have any opportunities, privilege, this and that. It's like, no. You take advantage of everything you can, or don't bitch about it. It's like I hate that attitude because I grew up that way, and I can understand that. It's just we don't realize how stupid that sounds when we're kids growing up,
But as an adult, it sounds absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and I get it. You know, we're kind of sometimes conditioned to believe like it's us versus them kind of thing, and that's sad in its own self, you know. But to not try something because it's too white, it's like, you know, that's just silly. It's stupid.
Well, what's interesting about the entertainment business is that it's a business filled with weirdos. I mean, there's gay people, there's black people, Hispanic people, Indian people, white people, all coming together to create something together. It's a community. It's a business that's completely based on relationships. So I'm gonna end it with this thought. There's a saying that I always say: without art, we are just apes with car keys and guns.
Yeah. Yeah.
Art is an inclusive thing that allows so much freedom. And if you don't get involved in it, then what do? You get up in the morning, you go to work, you come home, and what do? You've got to do more. So what do you have?
Well, and I would just add on to what you guys were saying. This is the best time to be a minority, whatever
Things have
makes
changed so
you
much.
a minority.
Yeah.
Whether it's your sexual orientation, your appearance, your ethnic background. This is the time for representation. This is the most powerful time. I mean, like, I can't tell you how many casting breakdowns for shows being shot here in Chicago, for being shot everywhere. If you're afraid, you're like, I'm too big, I'm too old, I'm too dark, I'm too
whatever.
I'm too weird. No, this is what the industry wants at this time, and this is your moment. So please go out and take advantage of it. But I was going to say, Fabian, how much I loved the title of your podcast and the story behind that. Ignorance is strength. I've reflected a lot in the recent years on ego, which I see as being the largest factor in keeping people from their success and from true connection with others. There's so many wonderful people that we know, good artists, lovely people, but you're always struggling to connect to them and reach them and teach them and help them because of their ego in the way. And with that ego comes this idea of, I know everything. I don't have to keep learning.
Yeah, they're Dunning-Krugering over everything.
And the ignorance is strength. To me, that's the idea behind the Buddhist concept of the beginner's mind. If you always have this idea of, I'm a beginner and I have nothing to prove, I don't have to reinforce my ego and show, well, I already know how to do this. No, if you have this beginner's mind that's just open and not afraid to ask questions, you will get so far because you will learn so much so quickly. And they say that, I think this would be a great byline for your show. There's this quote that as the island of our knowledge grows, so does the shore of our ignorance. Oh. And the wisest people in history, like Marcus Aurelius, the wisest Roman emperor to ever live, even as an old man, he was going to class and he was going to school because he realized that was the way to stay young and to continue to be wise, is to realize how little we actually know.
The more you know, the less you know. That's literally that's what Lorissa and I go by every day.
I guess that beats my tagline of, I don't know shit, but that's okay.
But that's the beginner's mind, that idea of self-acceptance and self-love and being able to take your ego out of it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's the way you got to look at things. You know, if you come in as an expert for everything, you're even if like if you're a podcaster, right? If I'm coming in and I feel like I know everything, right? Because research is great, and I researched y'all as much as I could with the little info that I had about y'all, but I didn't want to come in like trying to know everything. I want to ask and get genuine responses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so that's how I approach things. I'm like, you should have. I mean, when I started this, I used to take like 4 or 5 pages of notes, right? Be like, I'm gonna try to get everything answered, and then I realized like those conversations kind of suck. Let's just freestyle it a little bit, have some quick points that I'm gonna talk about, and it's a lot better. I mean, for me, I enjoy it more, and I don't know. You gotta embrace the ignorance a little bit.
But that was you just embracing the ignorance and recognizing this process is not working. I have to pivot and change my approach. Therefore, you are able to improve that much faster than other people who think they know it all.
I remember my mom telling me when I was a kid, people really liked Humble Craig, which is my name. I go by CJ in the entertainment business, but my name is Craig. People like the Humble Craig. And it's great because I can be really cocky. I was in the Naval Special Forces. I've been a successful business owner.
He's a Scorpio.
It's part of my nature. So even when it's hard, it's really good to be humble. And when I meet new people in this business, in the entertainment business, people who have gone before me and done a lot more than I have, and I've been meeting a lot of those people lately, I want to have a humble nature and say, look, you've done a lot more than me, and I'm under no illusions that I know anything. And I want to be a sponge, and if you would be so kind as to let me absorb everything you know. You'd be surprised at how many people are willing to open up their minds and hearts to you if you approach a situation that way.
Yeah. Love it. All right. Well, thank you both for joining us on the podcast. I mean, I learned a lot, I'm definitely going to check out your movie. I'm telling you either tonight or in the next few nights, but I really enjoyed the trailer. Like you said, I didn't think it was going to be a romantic comedy. Just looking at it, that's going to be like a Die Hard or something like that. But
well, can I get one final plug before you let us go?
Go ahead. Yeah, where can people find you? Yeah.
Okay, so our film is The Misadventures of Mistress Maneater. It's averaging 4.5 stars out of 5 on Amazon Prime right now. We have hundreds and hundreds of positive reviews from viewers all around the world who have loved it. We are streaming on Amazon Prime, on Tubi, on Apple TV, Google Play. We're on YouTube, and we're on IMDb TV. If you like it, please rate it. Please leave us a review and tell all your friends. And like I said earlier, if you hate it, tell all your enemies to watch it.
If you want to connect with us, you can actually talk to Craig directly. Our handles on Instagram and Facebook are at Mistress Maneater Movie.
Yeah, so please write us. We'd love to hear from you.
All right. Well, we'll get you all tagged up on there on Instagram tomorrow. I'll release this tomorrow.
Great.
But yeah, again, really appreciate it. Love having you guys. But for everybody listening at home, I appreciate it. Thank you. Fuck you and good night.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Subscribe to the Ignorance is Strength podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Like, follow, and share on Facebook and Instagram at Ignorance is Strength Podcast and on Twitter at The Ignorance Pod.